finishing Chapter 3 from Charley Skedaddle, starting on page 32. "Where will I be going?" Major Caswell pointed to the train. "With him. Now get over there and get aboard." The officer motioned to a private nearby. "Private Bradley, tell the officer in charge that this boy is a new recruit of sorts." "Am I in the Army now?" Charley dared to ask. "More or less, so far as I'm concerned," replied the major, smiling down at Charley's joyful face. Consumed with a desire to hug the officer and jump up and down for happiness, Charley fought back the urge. He asked, "Do drummers and buglers get to fight?" Not one of the 3 soldiers present replied, although all 3 smiled as they looked at one another over his head. "Come along with me, boy," ordered the young private, who started off swiftly toward the waiting train, with Charley half running at his side. As they approached the train, Charley noted that each car had armed soldiers seated atop it. The door of the very last car stood open with guards in front of it. The private lifted Charley and pitched him inside, and then the door slid shut. The car was crowded with sitting and leaning soldiers who made room for him with ill grace. "My God, it's a Bowery boy!" exclaimed one, a little soldier with a pinched face. "What's he doing here so far from home?" Charley was proud to be recognized as being from the Bowery. As he lowered himself to the floor of the swaying, jolting car, he said, "I'm going to be a bugler or a drummer boy." "I hate buglers," came another soldier. "They get us up in the mornings and they put us to bed at night like we was molly-coddled babies." Charley looked around the thronged car for Jim Miller, but didn't see him. He would have preferred to be in Jim's car, he said. "When we stop, I'm going to get down and look for my friend's car, so I can get in it with him." "No, you won't," said the pinch-faced soldier. We've all been warned. If we try to get out, we're going to get shot down. Them guards are bound and determined that no bounty jumping goes on here." Charley asked, "Are you part of the 140th New York?" "Not us," said the soldier who hated buglers. "All of us here are in the 11th New York Battery. We're light artillery, the 140th Infantry, foot soldiers." "I'm with the 140th. I volunteered," Charley said proudly. The little pinch-faced man guffawed. "You'd have to do that. You're too much of a sprat to be drafted. How old are you, Bowery boy? 9 or 10? "Nearer 13, replied Charley angrily. "Well, if I was from the 140th, I'd send you back home to sprout up some. A bugle'll be almost as long as you are, and you can hardly be spotted over a drum, little feller." Charley, not liking this kind of teasing, cried hotly, "Major Caswell said I was big enough." "Who's Major Caswell, kid? He don't cut no ice with me." Another Yankee put in, "Oh, leave him alone, Josh. He wants to join the Army. That's his business. He'll be sorry soon enough if he gets a taste of what it's like being ordered around all day. Let's have some music, Clem." As the soldier began to play the harmonica, the men fell silent to listen. Charley Quinn pondered the words he had heard from the major and the soldiers. Of course, he would get a uniform. He'd seen buglers and drummers at the head of the military parades in New York City. They had looked splendid. Of course, he had liked the Army camp. Hadn't the major said that boys and dogs liked the Army? Maybe he could get a dog of his own when they got to camp. He'd never owned one. It would be fine to see Jim Miller again and strut past Con Sullivan with a big dog at his heels as the drummer boy of the 140th New York. Come to think of it, there hadn't been a drummer boy in the parade Con and Jim had marched in. Just a brass band that stayed behind on the wharf when the troops boarded the steamer. Johnny's regiment would find out what a dandy soldier boy they had gotten off of his younger brother. Already a good shot and a fine fighter. As he daydreamed about his glorious future in the army, Charley listened to the quiet talk of the artilleryman standing near him, a big soldier who was pulling on his briar pipe so deeply that he was wreathed in blue smoke, and he said, "I got good ears, better than most, and I overheard something very interesting before we boarded. Guess who's at the town of Culpeper Courthouse, which ain't far from where we're headed in Brandy Station?" "Abe Lincoln?" asked another man with a sharp laugh. "No, not Abe. General Meade, who whipped the rebels at Gettysburg. And that sure as the devil ain't all who's there right now." "Who else?" asked another soldier. "P.T. Barnum and all his elephants." "No, not him. General Grant Ulysses S. Grant. General Grant Ulysses S. Grant, who's been fighting and winning in the West. He's at Culpeper, too. Now, what do you suppose it means when two big generals get their heads together in the same place?" The little pinch-faced soldier, who had teased Charley, put in softly, "I always say you can never tell which way a pickle's going to sweat. But I'd say we're headed for a scrap. You suppose the Confederates know about this?" "Sure they know. Rebels are supposed to be right here in Virginia, too, at a place called Orange. That ain't too far from where we're bound. This is their part of the country. There's plenty of Virginia folks around here that are civil to us and then run with messages to the old Confederate General Robert E. Lee to tell him what we're up to. I bet when the scrap comes, he'll be ready and waiting." Charley Quinn drank up the words. "A scrap? A battle? Sure there'd be one if two famous generals were both the same place." The pipe-smoking artilleryman went on in a deep rumble. "Think about something else, too. It ain't only that them two are here together. It's coming on to springtime now. That's when the fighting always starts up all over again, ain't it?"